the Asante Regional Chairman, Bernard Imchibuesiako of the NPP, says he finds it perplexing that Alan Chamanting and his team are claiming victims of abuse during the superdelegates election. According to him, supporters of Alan Chamanting equally heckled Majority Leader Oseche Mensah-Bonsu during the elections in the Asante region. Now, he is, however, convinced that votes obtained by Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia are convincing for him to lead the party. Let's hear him.
I was there personally. I was there personally when the majority leader was coming, and then Alan people was hooted at him. And
they hooted at him in the Ashanti region?
Yes, they was attacking him.
Why?
They was attacking him. So if the same people want to, nicodemously want to turn themselves to complain, I find it very perplexed. That's the same people who can put somebody can also change yourself into the person. We have had a good success, beautiful elections, and it's a very peaceful. This is what I think we should talk about.
Now, Majority Leader Oseche Mensah-Bonsu, while confirming the incident reported heckling by the Alan Chamanting team, said it was triggered by a misrepresentation of his comments about the elections.
I just related to that. When I go to the grounds, somebody raised the issue. This is Chairman Mensah-Bonsu. One neighbor, no say. Will be 70% of contestants will be 70%, and me and probably no more heckle. No, I heard that comment.
But do you know the person who said that?
I didn't look because it was.
So what was the nature of the heckling? What was the nature of the heckling?
Did that worry you?
It didn't worry me because I thought it was sheer pedestrianism, and people were contriving to bring violence. So you ignore them because there was no truth in that.
Meanwhile, MP for Yendi, Farouk Mahama, is debunking claims that they skewed the elections to favor their preferred candidate in the northern regions.
Elections. It's about everybody's a matured person at his level age to be able to determine who or she he likes. All the MPs are people of respected society, and we are level-headed people, and there's nothing skewed about this. It is a decision we have taken, and Bawumia is the candidate, is the spirit of the party, and that is how we voted for.
What do you make of the violent incident that happened?
It's very unfortunate, but from my investigation, I think it was over-exaggerated by the colleague who was an agent. And I think I'm very happy that the party has taken into it to call all candidates to be decorous. Obviously, our senior brother Alan Chamanting was not really happy, but of course, we are one party, and in elections these things happen, and we are looking forward to a very peaceful one in November. And it's just a repetition of what we've done. And Bawumia is going to obviously be the candidate that will be our next candidate, and inshallah on victory to unseat John Mahama to become the first Muslim president.
All right, let's look at the other side for a moment. The National Democratic Congress, NDC, says journalists in the country must step up with boldness and confidence in performing their duties as stipulated in the Constitution. Addressing the media when the leadership of the party paid a courtesy call on the president and leadership of the Ghana Journalists Association, General Secretary of the party, Fifi Kwetey, said political interference with the work of institutions such as the Electoral Commission, the Ghana Police Service, and institutions that are meant to be independent can be blamed for the country's current economic challenges.
The media as an institution is doing its job as well as it can. We, however, feel that there are concerns that need to be addressed. And those concerns have to do with sad instances where there seems to be a desire to return to a culture where institutions increasingly become almost like appendages of a political party, or of especially a ruling party. We think we need to work towards ensuring that we do not have that happening anymore. as a political party, NDC, we want to say that when institutions are strong, the country gets stronger. It is the truth that parties often want institutions to want to be under their thumb for their own purposes, but we must resist that edge. For example, the economic situation we have in our country today, that simply shows that if institutions were playing their role well, we should not be having some of these difficulties. For instance, I'm sure you've heard the recent issues relating to, for example, the central bank. The central bank is supposed to be a very independent institution. But the fact that at a certain point, the central bank started literally becoming an appendage of the ruling government is what, for example, leads to a situation where we have the difficulties that we've had, where the central bank easily just decided to play ball with the government. In the process, so many difficulties happen. We have a current challenge, for instance, that we have, for example, with the fact that the Electoral Commission, another very important institution that's supposed to just play its role as an independent institution, a constitutional body, that has been granted what you call independence to ensure that a good job gets done, virtually by its conduct, behaves as though it is an appendage of a ruling party in order to simply do what the ruling party wants. So, for example, we're talking about a situation where we need to allow as many Ghanaians to register for an election, which is their constitutional responsibility. But you have an electoral commission that simply decides for its own purpose that we are going to restrict this whole thing to a district level in a nation that is made up of many rural communities, in a nation where sometimes you have to travel for hours, 4 hours, simply to reach a district capital, in a situation where you have an economic crisis, where transport fares have gone up, cost of living has gone up, people are struggling. But that institution decided that it's going to dig in, and regardless of whatever anybody does, that is how I want it done, because that seems to suit what the government of the day wants, which is nothing short of suppression of the fruit of the people. You know, these are conversations that we believe you as a media will be able to push, not for the sake of any political party, but to ensure that this country institutions work well. We hold duty bearers to account in order to ensure that the right thing gets done. The same way we seek for the media to assert its independence and autonomy and do its job, the same way we expect to be done for every institution. The police as an institution needs to have its strength and do what it's got to do, regardless of whether an opposition party is happy or a ruling party is happy. Just do its job. The same we expect for the legislature, the same we expect for the Electoral Commission, the same we expect for every other institution in the country. And that is the call we want to make as a party, that we want to encourage all of us, starting with the media, to be in the forefront of helping to ensure that all institutions play their role well. Now, we believe that if all these institutions do their role properly, the country not only becomes better for it, but we set up a system where there's not this kind of lethal struggle simply because you want to have leadership and destroy the country. We have a situation where the what you call the alternation in power becomes very smooth. Why? Because everybody there appreciate that the job at all moments is to do the best you can and let the people decide who should be in charge, as opposed to almost like this very primitive obsession we have that as soon as you have access to power, you must corrupt institutions, you must turn them into appendages, you must destroy the businesses that support your opponents, you must create conditions that make it impossible for any other person to have a possibility of power. Yet at the same time, when you hear about a coup in another country, you jump into talking about sending military people. Meanwhile, you are virtually creating situations that could lead to the same difficulties in your own country. And so these are things that we together, as a political party, very conscious about the need for the survival of our democracy.
Now, the president of the Ghana Journalists Association, Albert Kwabena Jumfo, on his part, lamented the increasing number of assaults on journalists by politicians and political actors. He further warned the GJA would condemn the attack on any journalist, no matter who is involved. He says instead of attacking journalists for any alleged unprofessional conduct by any journalist, such persons should report the journalist in question to the GJA for the necessary redress.
We are much concerned about attacks on journalists. Very, very key. Something I was expecting you to touch on as a leader of the largest opposition party in the country. Attacks on journalists by politicians and a signs of government has been very rampant, and we hope to collaborate with you, let you know that the media, we are partners in national development, we are collaborators. So therefore, we need to see ourselves as partners or as stakeholders and not as enemies. So we will call on you and we'll do same with all other political parties. That look, stopping and harassing and preventing media from discharging their work is not the way to go. We would rather urge that you report reckless journalists to us. The media, the journalists who discharge their work unconstitutional, unprofessional. Yes, you report such, because there is under Article 4140 of our Constitution, gives us, that's of the GJ Constitution, gives us the powers to establish what we call the Ethics and Disciplinary Council. This council is there to check on professionalism and to also approve the bad ones among us. So when such situations come to attention, just report to us, let us know. But we advise that to extend to our members or the cooperation you can afford. This will mean access to your leadership for interviews. This will mean protection of journalists during your programs and campaigns. Because for us, as the current leadership, the welfare of journalists is our priority, and we will not compromise on anything which that amount to an affront to press freedom. Anything that amount to attack on journalists, we, the current administration, will rise against it, no matter who is involved.